Hello again, on a cold day. I'm gonna read you Gateway to the Mind. Listen carefully or I'll hurt somebody on the way. Now, this story is about certain people that, that scientists did this testing on. Now, if you give me a few minutes while I'm going through it, I will get the bit thing up for me. At the time, you can try to answer my questions straight away on my second channel. So get it started now. Do, 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 do. And the reason why I'm doing Gateway to the Mind is not because I hate you, but because I enjoy making this type of videos, especially ones that spook you out. So my computer's acting up slightly, but that doesn't matter. Right? I always enjoy making these videos to you guys. As long as I wait, just as long as I get through the video. Oh, man, this is boring already. Please don't leave, please. I enjoy having you guys here. I don't have no one else with me. Okay, let's get started. In 1983, a team of deeply patriotic scientists conducted a racial experiment in a disconnected facility, enclosed facility. The scientists had theorized the human without access to any senses or ways to perceive Samateo would be able to perceive the presence of God. They believe that there's five senses clouded our awareness of entity, and without them, the human could actually establish contact with God by thought. An elder man who claimed to have nothing left to live for was the only test subject to volunteer. To plur- plunger, uh, plur- plunger him of all of the senses, scientists performed the complex operation in which every senses of nerves connected to the brain was surgically received. Although the test subject retired full muscular functions, he could not he could not see, hear, taste, smell, or feel, with no possible way of communicating with even a sense of the outside world. He was alone with his thoughts. Scientists monitored him as he spoke about the state of mind in jumbled. Cyril, scientists thought that he couldn't even hear. After 4 days, man claimed that he was hearing hushed, unintelligible voices in his head. Amusing it was the onset of psychos. Scientists paid a little attention to the man's con- uh, concerns. 2 days later, the man could hear. The man was crying that he could hear his dead wife speak with him, and even more that he could communicate back. Scientists was eager, but were not convinced until the subject was started naming dead relatives of scientists. He repeated personal information that scientists that their dead spouses and parents would have known. At the point of stabilization, portion of scientists left the study. 3 weeks later, concerning with the deceased thoughts, he thought his thoughts. The subject became distressed, saying the voices was all more overwhelming him. In every waking moment, his conscience was barraged with by hundreds of voices and refused to leave him alone. He frequently threw himself against the wall, trying to elect a pain. Responses. He begged the scientists. He bangled the scientists of sedatives so he could escape the voices of by sleeping. The Titanic working for 3 days until he started having several night terrors. The subject repeated that, saying that he could hear deceased in his dreams. 1 day later, the subject began to scream and claw on his non-functional eyes, hoping that something in the physical world. The hysterical subject now said his voices of dead people, trembling and hostile, speaking of hell in the end of the world. And at the point, he yelled, "No heaven, no forgiveness." I mean, no heaven, no forgiveness. For 5 hours straight, he constantly begged to be killed, but the scientists were convinced that he was close to establishing contact with God. After another day, the subject could not go longer with the conherds and said, seemingly mad, he started to bite off chunks of his flesh from his arm. The scientists rushed to the testing chamber and retrained him to tables that he could not kill himself. After a few hours, he began tidying down. The subject halted and struggled and screamed. He started blankly stared blankly at the ceiling, and teardrops silently across the face. For a few weeks, the subject had become manually irritated due to the cause's crime. Eventually, he turned his head, and despite his blindness, he made focused contact with the scientist he, that for his first time in study, he whispered, "I have spoken with God. He has abandoned us." His virtual silence stopped. There is no appointed cause of death. Following up to 2000, Dr. G. F. Department of Neurology Hospital named withheld, San Francisco, California, CA. Recent study has decreased disease which targets the motor functions developed with the hallucinations of the disease. The death target in the chemicals in the brain has been disease, led to the loss of smell among senses. The cause of disease descent is unknown. Hallucinations present in 39.8%. The patients falling into three categories: a sensational person, sideways passage, commonly of animal or illusion, presents in 25% of patients, and isolation occurring to in 14.3%. Formal visions hallucinations present 22%. Isolation in 9.3%. Auditory hallucinations present in 9.7%, isolated in 2.3% of continuing studies in San Francisco, California, 2003 to the present. So how you like that? That was Gateway to the Mind. Hope you enjoyed. And continue with the thing I'm doing. Click here to see my video I made of Jeff the Killer yesterday. And, as I always say, thank you for listening. That was Gateway to the Mind. Bye.